Do you want to know how to correct negative behavior using positive consequences? Is it even possible? The answer is yes. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, and how to build strong family bonds through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about the self-government way to use positive consequences to correct negative behavior. In this video, we're going to be talking about positive behavior and negative behavior and why people engage in certain negative behaviors and how positive consequences can help them change that behavior. So we all function by assessing cause and effect in our lives. We take action, do a behavior, and then we determine, was that good for us or not? Could we have done something different? Is there something we know to do different or not? It is usually the job of a parent to start a child learning about cause and effect, bringing things to their attention by giving them feedback. Through praise, through pre-teaching, through corrections of negative behaviors, parents give their children feedback. So negative behaviors are probably the most troublesome to parents. Parents worry about children's negative behaviors, and they work a lot on trying to help the child overcome bad habits or selfish tendencies and bad behaviors that they know will be detrimental for them for their lives. Negative behavior is an interesting thing. It's not always something that happens because of conscious decision. But in order to fix a negative behavior, you usually have to appeal to conscious decision making. You have to identify whatever the problem is and then chart a new course or new path for that behavior. When a person is engaging in negative behavior, they are usually jumping into a part of their brain like the midbrain or the back brain where they're just getting emotional about something. So if they start yelling or having an outburst at somebody, it's usually because they weren't thinking. So the thing about positive consequences is it brings up the positive direction to think. It actually gives you a way to replace a negative behavior. When I teach about correcting children, I always talk about how you should feel closer to your child during and after a correction than you even did before. And some people smile or they kind of laugh about it like, oh, come on, is that really even possible? The answer is yes, it is possible. When a person teaches a child using a certain type of a tone and a certain type of a structure, the child learns that being corrected is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing. It's a helpful thing. Who came up with the idea anyway that corrections have to be bad? That's not true. They don't have to be. We get corrected all the time for things. You think about when you're, playing a video game or something. Maybe you've never played one. I've hardly played them myself. But let's just say you're playing a little video game and you end up driving off the path and you course correct to go back on. Do you tell yourself, oh, it was so bad that I drove off the course? No, you say, oh, good, I'm back on track, right? Because that's going to keep you focused in a forward, good, positive direction. Focusing on the positive is a really great way to conquer the negative and to not get trapped in the negative. So when I correct children, I usually focus more on the positive things that they could have done than the negative things that they did do. They do need to have a moment of analysis where they acknowledge the negative action that happened or the action that was not productive for them. But then we spend the majority of our time talking about what could have happened, should have happened, and how they can have that thing happen in the future. So there are multiple steps to a correction. In my TSG parenting course, which you can find at teachingselfgovernment.com, I talk about the effective way to do a calm correction. And I'll talk a little bit more about calmness at the end of this video because I have a free gift for you that will help you with your calmness. On my TSG parenting course, I talk about how the first step of a correction is to describe what happened that we might not think is a productive thing to do for the future, right? And then the next step is to discuss why that might not be a good thing. So that's the rationale step. Step number 3 is what should have happened. So if this were to play out correctly or in a way that would be productive or helpful for the person, how should it have played out? Step number 4 is what negative consequence the person might have earned. Before we get to step number 5, after step number 4, we praise. We praise the person for accepting their consequence. I mean, keeping in mind that they have to accept their consequence before they actually get that praise. But if they learn this skill and how you'll correct them every time, then they actually start accepting their consequences a lot. So you praise them. Then what you do is you say, okay, now before you do that negative consequence, what we're going to do is we are going to practice things the right way. So then we go through some role play practices, doing the situation the right way, and doing similar situations, also using the same skill that could have been used in the first original experience. Each one of those role plays are met with praise. Then the child actually goes and does the negative consequence and comes and checks back, because that's part of the skill accepting consequences. A person has to have the opportunity to accept consequences, otherwise they don't get the chance to learn self-government. So once they come and check back from doing that consequence, they get praised again. So there are 5 praises right there in one correction. And I always tell people when I teach about self-government and about praising that you should always praise your children 6 to 10 times for every one time that you correct them. I've figured out a way to do 5 times during a correction. That means that I only need to come up with a couple of other praises at a time that I'm not doing a correction. Praising is the simplest, most organic and long view type of praise or positive consequence that you could use. You could use positive consequences right in the middle of corrections. Most people don't think of that. I have a whole other video about good positive consequences to use with children, so I'm not going to go into every type of positive consequence here that you could use with children, but I am going to say that praise is probably the most important of all of those positive consequences because it's the most organic. It's going to probably give the child the most feedback, and it's the most long-term type of consequence that you could keep up for, the foreseeable future. So we've talked about how I use praise within my corrections. But is there a way to correct a negative behavior just with positive consequences? Oh yes, absolutely. In the TSG parenting course, I talk about 3 different meetings that we have. These are 2 of the meetings, the family meeting and the individual mentor meeting. Now, in these meetings, we solve problems individually and as a family. Now, when we solve problems, we talk about the problem ahead of time and make a plan for how that problem will be corrected or what type of a motivation system that we might use for that problem. We set up positive consequences. We say, if we all wake up on time every day this week, then at the end of the week, we're going to go and get an ice cream as a family, or we're going to have this special family activity on Friday night. That's a positive consequence that's decided ahead of time and then worked toward throughout the week. Focusing on doing the positive thing actually makes it so that the negative consequence is not the primary motivator for correcting the behavior. It's the positive consequence that's the primary motivator for correcting the behavior. The same thing can happen in an individual mentor meeting with a child. Maybe the child has a problem like an addiction to sugar or something like that. And maybe you can set up a positive consequence with the child for if they choose not to have sugar for a certain period of time. We actually did that with my daughter. She had a sugar addiction problem, and we determined that if she went without sugar for an entire month, that there would be a very big reward for that. And she was really motivated about that. In fact, it was her idea to do the positive consequence. And that positive consequence was something that she accomplished. And she also recognized that she could go without sugar, which really helps her health too. So family meetings, individual mentor meetings are really great Pre-teaching in general about what the positive consequences will be, as well as the negative consequences, are going to point people more toward desiring the positive consequence. So we have to actually talk about the positive consequences in the first place for them to matter for anyone. If we don't focus at all on positive consequences, it's as if they don't exist, and then they don't help us conquer any negative behavior. Another thing that you can do to use positive consequences to help with conquering negative behavior is when your child is struggling with a certain type of negative behavior. Let's say the child has a hard time staying calm and you really want them to work toward calmness. Maybe what you can do is say, okay, let's make a little mini goal for your calmness. So you'll have a little, what I call parent counseling session with the child about just the topic of calmness, and you'll help the child come up with a positive consequence. You may even say to the child, what type of positive consequence would motivate you to focus on being calm right in the minute instead of losing control and then regretting it afterward? And the child might say, well, if I could have a Skittle every time I choose to be calm, then I would be calm. Or if I could get some playtime outside when I choose to be calm, then I would choose to be calm. So they come up with something that actually motivates them. So using motivators as you're talking about a plan or a strategy for one negative behavior is also very, very effective. I want to caution you about something. Don't bribe with positive consequences. If a person is engaging in negative behavior and then you throw out something like, hey, if you change your behavior and you do this positive thing, then you can get this positive consequence. That's actually called bribery. A positive consequence has to be decided ahead of time for it to actually be a positive consequence. They need to know they're working toward it. They need to know they chose it to actually have self-government, which, after all, is what this channel is all about. Now remember, I told you I had a free gift for you about calmness. If you've enjoyed this little taste about self-government, then you might enjoy my Calm Parenting Toolkit. Right now you can have it for free. There is a description below this video, and in it there is a link to the Calm Parenting Toolkit that you can have for free. It's 10 tools for calmness that will help you with your self-government. The link says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. Click on that link now. I'll see you there.